Hello and welcome back to the Tea and a Buddy podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today it's the travel culture week, isn't it?
Travel culture week.
Yes. I wasn't sure about it, but I am now. We're going to be talking about New York.
New York City.
New York City. I mean, if you're, what's that, Pace County?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I know all this. I studied your culture before I came here.
You know the lore of...
I know the lore of America now. I know it better than you.
This stuff's made in New York City.
I know all your adverts. I know all your shows. I know how your minds work.
Yes.
I'm ready to rat you out to our AI overlords.
Oh, God.
when they come. When they come a-calling. But no, New York, we were inspired to talk about this. And we've talked about New York before because we went there for our honeymoon.
Yeah. And we haven't been back since.
I haven't been back since.
Yeah, we need... it's high time to take a trip back to New York City.
So if any hotel in New York wants to put us up, namely the Plaza
Or if
Hotel,
we have any listeners with an extra bedroom, I mean, we're not picky.
Yeah, if you've got an extra bedroom, we'll come and stay with you and we'll provide you hours of entertainment.
I don't know who lives in New York City that has a spare bedroom, though.
Well, a spare bedroom too. It's like, well, there's a tiny little space on the floor there.
Yeah.
You know, like you were saying, you watch those TikToks of people who show off their apartments and they're paying like $5,000 a month to live in this like 2x4 place, you know? And it's just a box. It's a shoebox.
Yes.
And, you know, you get people commenting who live in, like, I don't know, rural Ohio or down
Missouri.
in Texas or somewhere like that. And they're like, $2,000, $5,000 a month. I could have bought a house for that. 17 bedrooms. Yeah. Oh. And it's just like, yeah, but they don't want to live in rural Ohio. They want to live in New York City.
It's like, we don't want to live in your small town in Nebraska. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We want to live where we can walk out the door and...
We want to live where
have
it's
everything at
New
our
York
fingertips.
Saturday night, yeah.
At all hours of the night. You know what I mean? All cultures from all around the world. You know, public transportation. Everything within walking distance. You know, it's just like, yeah, we're willing to pay that. They cannot understand it.
Because they don't like city life. And I mean, that's not for everyone.
They don't like city life, or they also think, oh, there's no space. It's like, well, you're not spending... If you're living in New York City, you're not spending your time in your apartment.
No.
You know?
No.
You've got everything right there. Like, who's just hanging out in their house? It's like, you're hanging out in your house.
Go out to the park.
It's like you're hanging out in your house in Kansas because there's nothing for miles.
Yeah.
You know, you have to drive for miles to get to the nearest city. So it's just like, it's just different mindsets. You want to live there. They want to live in New York City. Like, leave them alone.
Just leave them alone,
I get it.
people.
I mean, I get it. You know, if we had the money, I think we would definitely live in Manhattan. Oh, you don't? Not Manhattan.
Yes, but it would have to be quite a spacious apartment. It wouldn't have. It would have to be a penthouse. No. It would have to be a penthouse apartment in Manhattan, overlooking the park.
Okay, of course.
You know, and you know where we have our space and stuff, and so we could look out every now and go, yeah, there's the park. It's still there, and all. No,
you know. I mean, I'd be happy with.
What runs Fifth Avenue, isn't it? That runs next.
I think you and I get along well enough. We could live in just like a little tiny 1-bedroom apartment, 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment
in New York City.
In Greenwich Village.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yes, come on.
We could go out, we get on the subway.
Who needs a penthouse?
You know, like it's, if the subway is still working, that is, you know, it's not breaking down. No, I mean, that you know, we watched the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special. And
as it seems everyone did.
Yeah. And I thought that was a great episode all around.
Oh, God,
there was a few people that didn't like it because, I thought it was just going to be a clip show.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, I think that was mostly the 40th, wasn't it? I think the 40th anniversary had a lot of clips in it. But this one just kind of had, like, throwbacks to the original. It had a couple of clips from, like, the very early years. But mostly... it was new sketches, you know, with you know, returning cast members from over the years, you know, which was great. The Paul Simon and Sabrina Carpenter opened it with Homeward Bound.
Yeah.
Which he did that with George Harrison in 1976.
Which I always think of him as like a New York icon. You know, his kind of like...
well, he lives there, doesn't he?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure if he's from there. I'm not sure if he currently lives there. You know, I don't really know. But for some reason, it's just, you just think of him like... I don't know. I associate him with like... just that whole kind of vibe.
That scene, yeah.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, not that he has anything to do with Bob Dylan, but just a sort of similar vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he'd be in a cafe or in a club or whatever, you know,
playing guitar,
like writing, getting inspiration from all the passers-by, and just like the whole scene. The whole whether I just made that up in my head, I don't know, but he just seems to go with New York City to me.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the sketches of that were great. They had Will Ferrell back to do and it's Fred Armisen to do the Lawrence Welk show again.
Oh yeah,
he played Robert Goulet, and Scarlett Johansson was playing a lot of like roles in it because she's married to Colin Jost now. Yeah, he does Weekend Update.
God, everybody was in that episode.
Everybody was in that episode. They did a Q&A with most of the celebrity guests.
Yes, including Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Was there,
completely repaired his image. Everybody's forgotten about the lawsuit now. Yeah. So, you know, it's fine now, you know. We'll just go home now.
My favorite part, though, speaking of New York City, was the New York City.
It was the moving to New York sketch.
Yeah. New York, and it was kind of like a New York City through the ages, done in a musical
in the style. In the 70s New York, when Saturday Night Live started, they were like, this is what New York was like back then.
Yes.
You know, it was hot dogs and heroin.
Yes.
And everything was breaking down, and Times Square was just full of prostitutes, and
the city was full of overrun with rats.
Overrun with rats. It wasn't really a huge tourist. And I was thinking, God, would it have been like that in the 60s too? And I kind of did a bit of research on this. And it was like, that's when it started to decline.
In the 60s?
In the 60s, yeah. It was starting to go into this...
Did you find a reason?
It was an economic kind of slump. Because everybody had kind of moved out into the suburbs.
Yeah.
And the industries were going away.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
They were kind of like, they were just kind of closing down and moving into like, you know, upstate or whatever. And people were just kind of like, oh, it's not fashionable to live in New York anymore. Oh, it's just a riff-raff.
That's kind of funny. Like, you never think of there being a time when it would be unfashionable to live in New York City. Do you? I don't.
I mean, I'd say, you know, like, oh, the 20s and the 30s. And perhaps even the 40s.
Yeah.
That was like New York's golden era, you could say.
I guess so.
I mean, not the golden age, or the gilded age, because that would have been like the turn of the century, but that was kind of like the end of New York's golden era. And then, you know, like, it was a city, so more immigrants were coming there, and then prices were rising.
Yeah.
And so people were like, yeah, we're getting out of here.
I suppose so.
It's too dirty, it's too run down, nobody wants to do anything. The mayor's a little bit dodgy.
Yeah.
And he was kind of, I don't know who the mayor was during the 60s, but around that time is when it started to go into an economic decline.
I mean, this kind of happens.
By the mid 1970s, New York was broke.
Oh yeah.
Nobody was had no money. You know, you could get, crime was up. Mm-hmm. The whole, get into a taxi, get shot or stabbed.
Yeah.
People were selling heroin on the streets with hot dogs. Times Square was just littered with prostitutes and heroin dealers, and it was just, you know, you could get knifed there or shot or whatever, and the park was full of... And it was like that...
Do you remember that movie, The Out-of-Towners?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in the late 60s, yeah. And so it became, you know, I'm sure that contributed to its image too.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, oh, we're not going to New York. Why would we go to New York? Oh, you get terrible place.
I mean, that kind of happens just everywhere, though, doesn't it? Like, there are times when everybody wants to live in cities because, as we said before, everything is at your fingertips.
Yeah.
You know, and then whatever's happening with the economy or whatever, everybody's like, oh, never mind. We want space. We want to be away from people. We want the American dream, a big house on a bunch of acres with, kids running around everywhere. It's just like, it just kind of goes up and down like the economy. And so I get it. All right.
So, by the time when after Nixon resigned and Gerald Ford became president, New York apparently reached out for some federal assistance to, help it get back on its feet.
Yeah.
And Gerald Ford said, no, we're not going to give you anything, we're not helping New York out.
Yeah.
They can sort themselves out,
Right.
They're just squandering the money,
right.
they've got.
The federal government is not bailing New York City out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I think it was the Daily News had the headline, oh, Ford to city, drop dead.
Yeah, which he didn't say. He didn't say word for word.
He didn't say drop dead at all.
Right.
And that
they were just
and that cost him the presidency.
Yeah.
That did because New Yorkers were in uproar. Like, oh, he told us to drop dead. He didn't care about us. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
So New York survived on into the 80s.
Yeah.
And of course, this sketch was pretty good in that,
It was so good.
They had Nathan Lane doing his
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata, but cocaine and vodka.
Yes. So it went from hot dogs and heroin to cocaine and vodka.
Yeah, because during the Reagan era, and I guess the financial, it was kind of like
people had more money. I guess
it was kind of like it was kind of the same thing as in London, because London in the 70s was run down, and
yeah,
nobody was really doing anything.
I tell you, it's
everybody was like, oh yes, yuppie,
yeah.
Let's make money, and get this place. And then by the 90s, it started to get redeveloped.
Yeah. Like Disneyfication.
Yassified. That's the term I think they call it now. Yassified.
Oh, yeah.
Can you yassify my picture? To make it look popping. Or
whatever,
yeah. Like they smooth it out and all that kind of stuff. That's the term apparently. But yeah. It's like cocaine and vodka and then I think, was it the end of the 80s or early 90s when Giuliani came in as the mayor?
Yeah.
And so he came in and he was like, I'm going to clean the city up. Mm-hmm. We're going to get those prostitutes out of Times Square. We're going to make that the touristy hub.
Yeah.
Get them out of the park. Fix the subway.
Yeah.
Clean the whole city up. And
get the drugs off the streets. Yeah. We want to make this. We want to make this a tourist. It's a tourist destination.
We want this to be a place where, if your kid gets on the wrong flight and he ends up there, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone 2. It's just like, oh, he's in New York.
And so they made a joke like, okay, so he gives the prostitutes jobs other than being prostitutes. So now you have the prostitutes dressed as the green M&Ms,
green M&Ms, or the hot dog man or whatever. Just like something just for the tourists.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course, 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, oh yes.
If you watch like Sex and the City or like other shows that are kind of set around the time Giuliani came in and was cleaning New York City up, New Yorkers were not super fond of it because they just felt like, oh, you're
gentrifying.
You're gentrifying. You're whitewashing it. You're making everything samey.
Oh, it's not New. Well, I mean, people were going to do. Oh, it's not New York of 1975.
Yeah, well, it's just like
That's not my New York.
You bland down the culture, and it's like, okay, that makes it palatable for the tourists from Kansas and Nebraska. You know what I mean? But it's not
the out-of-towners.
But yeah, but it's not true to the city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is full of immigrants, and it's like the melting pot of America. You know, and it's just kind of like ick. It's like icky. You know what I mean? You don't notice it as a tourist coming from Ohio or coming from Montana or wherever.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, oh, look, there's a big Disney store there.
There's a big M&M store.
Oh, the big M&M store. Oh, let's go in
the
and
massive
get our...
McDonald's in Times Square. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And to be honest, the first time I went to New York City, I thought, oh, it's so nice. It feels safe. There's cops, like, everywhere. You know what I mean? Wasn't thinking about it, like, from a New Yorker's perspective, but...
Oh, it's gentrified now.
But over the last, decade or so, we are experiencing this in Austin now, and it really does change the whole vibe of the city and kind of just makes it feel like...
Yeah.
Ugh. Austin very much is no longer the city that it was when I first moved
apparently
here.
It's sliding in New York. Apparently the scene is sliding back.
Well,
to
yeah,
the 70s.
let's finish this particular skit from SNL.
Yeah.
Where they do 9/11 happened. Giuliani's like propelled into this kind of like national hero because of the way he handled it.
Yes.
Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Mayor Giuliani, the nation's mayor."
Yes, and there's photos of him like that doing his come to Jesus.
Yeah, everybody thought he was so great because of the way he handled, and I think New Yorkers too appreciated the way he handled the city around that time.
Yeah,
but then
he completely went off the rails.
Well, he just showed his true colors again.
He went off the rails, and of course he's like, yes, I am giving away my shot. Yes, I am giving away my shot.
God, the way that made me just laugh out loud when they brought the cast of Hamilton out and had Giuliani singing, "I am giving away my shot." It was just really the genius writing, the most genius writing, like.
And I mean, getting disbarred and,
Yes.
And he did. And now he's somewhere else now.
Yeah, and so then Bloomberg came in.
And it was kind of more of the same sort of thing.
Sort of, yeah. I can't remember specifically what they were pointing out in the 2000s, what they were complaining about with Bloomberg. Scarlett Johansson comes out all bruised and...
E-bikes.
She's all bruised up and got her arm in a sling. And she's singing to... Suddenly Seymour from what's the musical, Little Shop of Horrors.
That's it.
Suddenly e-bikes.
Yeah. And I mean, e-bikes, another thing, another problem in London too, those e-bikes.
Yeah.
They go very fast,
I mean, cities, they're going to face the same kinds of problems, I suppose,
Yes. But now it's...
And now they've got another corrupt mayor.
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
is he the one that introduced wheelie bins to New York City and like it was like a new invention?
Yeah,
I thought that was the governor actually, but it was the mayor. I remember he took out. He goes, look, guys, wheel the bin out, and then you open it, you put the trash in, it's done. And everybody around the world goes, yeah, those have been a thing everywhere for the last, I don't know, 60, 70 years.
Yeah, we put the trash in these wheelie bins. I guess he thought, this is how I'm gonna... This is my Giuliani... My
Giuliani moment where I'm going to clean up the city with a wheelie bin.
Yeah.
These things, they're called wheelie bins, and you can wheel them down, you can do that. Oh, they're fantastic.
But
we invented them right here in New York City.
But I've seen TikTokers on the streets of New York, and I still see just the piles of garbage. So they've got too much garbage for those bins. I would imagine that's why they never used them before anyway.
Yeah, and then of course, the trash union goes on strike.
All the time.
So, and then the city smells like Parmesan cheese because everyone's going into and you know what I'm talking about. If you've been to New York, if you were there around 2010 or something, there's just an overwhelming smell of Parmesan cheese. And it's like, you must have smelled it too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I was just like, what is that overwhelming smell of Parmesan cheese? And the thing was, the only thing that could get me through that was thinking, Oh, it's got to be Michelangelo
The
and his
Ninja
pizza.
Turtles down
and
in
his
the...
pizza. He's in the sewers, he's got his pizza,
Maybe that's where the pizza thing came. The Ninja Turtles with the pizza came
It's
from.
like, oh yeah, it smells like pizza.
It definitely
because that was later. Well, that was...
You Googled that after we came back, didn't you?
No, and people were like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, that's New Yorkers closing ranks. They know what.
No,
they know what
because
I'm talking
I
about.
smelled that the very first time I went. I wasn't even with you, so it's like it's very much a thing. It's like,
are they just dumping Parmesan cheese into the sewers? Just in the hope that the Ninja Turtles will be there.
But yeah, no, the current mayor, he's like had racketeering charges and stuff like that. They've called for him to resign, and he's just like, nah. I'm not resigning.
I'm gonna go live in the sewers.
Yeah, he's they've accused him of all kinds of corruption.
Oh.
And he's just like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
It's kind of expected in New York City anyway, It's like, if you didn't have a corrupt mayor, what's the point?
Yeah, no, they credited that as one of the reasons for why he made the big spectacle of parading Luigi Mangione down the street. Because it was like, yes, look, we've caught him, and look what I've done for
what I've done for this city.
For this city, and we're gonna make a big spectacle, to like just show how great and wonderful he was. But really, it was just like, yeah, you're a criminal yourself.
You're an absolute criminal, you are.
But yeah, so that skit kind of like goes full circle from the 70s, through like the
rise up, to the, and then, and of course, it's like pre 9/11, for the like a limit, like about 10 years from the 90s, everything was kind of okay, and then after posting it, everybody's like, oh no, what's happened? This is terrible.
But I think they rallied for another
10 years, and now it's kind of like it's sliding back into like
Yeah.
So, but the next time we go, we're probably going to get murdered in a cab.
Oh no! God, yeah.
Or we'll get some heroin and hot dogs. I don't know.
I mean, literally,
they are fantastic, the hot dogs in New York City, though. So maybe it is heroin. I don't know.
I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast, actually. But I literally flew to New York City, arrived there like very late one night in 2006, I think it was. And because Paul McCartney was going to do a signing at the Virgin Megastore there in Times Square.
He was on the 50th too. He was there on the SNL 50th.
He
closed the whole show.
Closed it out. And I slept on the street in Times Square. Someone in line had a chair because it was like kind of rainy, which I had brought
on the ground.
Which I had brought an umbrella, but I did not have a chair. I didn't take a chair with me on the airplane, so I would have been on the ground. And someone was like, "Oh no, here, have a chair." They had to leave because of something or other, and they were like, "Here, have my chair."
And it wasn't too cold or anything.
Oh yeah, it was freezing.
It's always freezing or.
It was freezing,
really
but I was
hot in
prepared
New
for
York
that.
City.
I was like bundled up and everything. But my point is, it was safe enough. I mean, there were other people there as well, but like not one person came up to any of us and asked for money or like harassed us or anything. And I was in that line in Times Square for like a full day and a half, I'd say. Yeah. And not one person, I mean, all kinds of people came and were talking to us, but they were just wanting to know what we were in line for. But nothing. It was completely safe. We saw them shooting a Jay-Z video down the street, like it was fine. But apparently, yeah, according to like my mom who goes once or twice a year, she's like, oh yeah, it's a little bit, actually. Do you remember that story she told us from like not the last time they went, but the time before that? They were on the corner going to cross the street, and a black SUV pulled up, and someone stuck their hand out the window with a little baggie
of drugs.
Like it looked like drugs, yeah. And they were just like, no, I don't know, I can't remember. I think she said they didn't even say anything. They just like stuck there.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend was like, no, like, leave us alone, you know, and they just, like, drove on down the street then,
But it's just like, what, you know, if I took that back, the cops would get me or something, you know? Yeah, it was like, that's the weirdest thing.
They were probably just going, do you want to buy
maybe.
drugs or whatever? I mean, I don't know what time of night it was, but it was nighttime, she said. I can't remember what part of the city they were in, but it was like, yeah, I've been to New York 3 or 4 times. I've never had an experience like that, so that's interesting. But also, none of the times I've been to New York, which we just said we haven't been back in many years now at this point, but I never saw one rat. I can't remember seeing one rat.
I didn't see any rats
any of the
in New
times
York.
we ever went to New York.
I mean, I don't remember seeing one.
I've seen a rat in San Antonio down at the Riverwalk.
Yeah, he was a big one too.
But I never saw one rat in New York City. And again, that's another thing that my mom's like, oh yeah, there's rats.
Rats on the subway.
Rats everywhere. So you could just see
They've
them
run out of Parmesan cheese.
Jumping over each other and stuff in the park at night. So, I mean, that'll be...
On the subway too.
New for me, yeah. Well, I mean, everybody's seen those videos, I think. You know, that one video of them, like, literally fighting over a slice of pizza. Like, like 3 huge rats, like, all pulling on...
Hey, that's my pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. City life. I mean...
And these are the kinds of things that people from, you know, middle America are just like,
rats.
Why would you want to live there?
There's rats.
Disgusting.
There's roaches. There's, you know, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's a city. There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of food.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, keep your own little spot clean and the rats will leave you alone, you know?
Yeah, but at the same...
I mean, it's the same in London too. You know, there's rats.
It's very funny.
There's rats everywhere.
It's very funny to me, though, because...
you dirty rat.
When you watch these, like, British people, British travelers, let's say, and they make travel content, when they come to the United States, it's always either, like, New York or Florida.
It's always New York or Florida. Well, Florida mainly. A lot of them go to Florida because, the sunshine and Disneyland or Disney World or Orlando Universal Resort or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
That's their kind of, like, thing.
I mean, I guess the United States is such a big country. It's like it's much further for them to go to the other coast or you know, anywhere in the middle.
They're going to go to California. They're going to go to Florida. That was the big thing. It was either Spain or Florida. You know.
But recently, there was like a TikTok sensation of this big group of British friends who went to New York City. Like, I think it was maybe in December.
The Welsh ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they were... I don't know if they were all Welsh, but at least a few of them were.
A lot of them were, yeah.
And everybody on TikTok was just loving this group of British tourists, like, experience New York City for the first time. You know, and they loved it. You do get some... I have seen some British people go, like, in comments and stuff, I've been there before. I didn't rate it. You know?
I didn't rate it.
Yeah, which, explain what that means when a British person says that, because it doesn't...
Meaning, I didn't rate it at all. It's not overrated or underrated. I didn't rate it. It didn't rate at all for me.
Okay.
I didn't
like it?
I didn't like it. Well, it's not, I didn't like it.
I didn't see what the hype was?
I didn't see what the hype was, yes.
Okay.
I didn't rate it. Or maybe, you know, it was just kind of like, it was just another city to me. I don't care, you know.
Yeah.
They're being aloof. I didn't rate it, but usually it means I didn't like it. You know, usually it means, you didn't like it. You had a lot to complain about then, did you?
Yeah.
It's like you got off the plane and were like, what's this ground I'm walking on? What's this air I'm breathing?
I don't know.
What's that over there?
I mean, it's a city.
Look, there's a rat.
But is it like any other city? I don't really think so.
No.
I don't think it's
I think every city is unique in a way, you know?
Yeah.
People go, well, it's just another city, isn't it? You've seen one, you've seen them all.
You need to go to the countryside, or you need to go to the small towns to get the feel of a place.
Because it's like,
okay.
Because, no, I think that, you know, I don't believe, you've seen one, you've seen them all. Yeah, a city is a city in that, like, you know, it's made up of a lot of people and there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's like an epicenter, you know?
Yeah.
But it's unique, you know? It's like it was constructed uniquely. It's got unique stuff in it. It's got unique people in it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not, you can't be going, I don't rate that. Or went to London, didn't rate it.
Yeah.
Went to New York City, didn't rate it. Went to LA, didn't rate it. San Francisco, nah. Doesn't even show up on my radar, mate. It's like, well, what would you rate then? A cornfield in Nebraska?
Yeah, it's just people who like to
small town Texas. You know, would you want to go to, I don't know,
they wouldn't,
Brownwood and go, yeah, this is it. This is the happening place for me.
Those are just those kind of people who want to seem like
edgy and cool.
Yes,
edgelords.
Too cool for school, you know. Don't rate the Beatles.
Yes, don't rate the Beatles. They've always been very overrated for me.
Yes, it's those same type of people.
Yes, and I didn't like them at all. And,
as you mentioned, though, to go back to SNL real quick, Paul did close out the show, and I didn't really see a lot of people were associating him doing the Golden Slumbers Carry That Way, the end medley with his appearance on the Chris Farley show.
It was on Saturday Night Live. It was a Chris Farley sketch.
I know, but they called it the Chris Farley show, right?
Yeah,
because he was like.
Well,
it was sort of like a talk show.
It was a talk show, yes,
yeah.
And I think that was written purely because Chris Farley wanted to be in a sketch with him. You know,
yeah.
So he had this Chris Farley show where he asked him silly questions, like, you know,
yeah,
and he was like, "Oh yeah, so the Beatles, huh? That was cool."
Yeah,
you know,
but he says, the end, you know, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. Is that true?
Is that true?
And Paul says, I think so.
So, yeah.
You know, everybody was associating with that. For me, I thought that Paul's whole appearance on this 50th anniversary was to do with that one of the earliest jokes.
Well, from season 1.
From season 1.
Lorne Michaels, the show creator, you know. I don't know what episode it was. In one of the sketches.
Quite early on,
It was quite early on. It was probably maybe even the first episode where he came on camera and he says, "Oh, I've got a check here for $3,000.
Yeah.
NBC have authorized me to offer this to the Beatles.
Made out to the Beatles.
If they come back and for theme songs, he goes, "Oh, she loves you." Yeah, that's one. You know the words.
To reunite on our show, yeah.
And perform 3 songs, $1,000 each a song, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like you can split it 4 ways, and you can choose to give Ringo less if you want to.
Yeah.
And of course, then it's kind of like they apparently.
I think he did it. He did it again.
He did it again.
And where he upped the amount a little bit.
$3,200.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was. And you know, there's that.
And John Lennon was living in New York City at the time.
Yeah, and him and Paul came over to see him, and they were watching that night, you know, together.
Yeah.
And they've both said, "Oh yeah, we thought," and in I think the Playboy interview, he says, "Oh yeah, when they did that sketch on Saturday Night Live, I was like, oh, we should go down there and collect half the money."
Yeah, it's just a few blocks away.
Yeah, we can just get in a cab and we'll go down there. It'll be funny.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of like, they probably thought, "Oh no, our legends will get in the way, and they will freak out because we haven't been seen together since the split."
Yes.
So you know, but then so maybe what they did is they told George, "You go and do something."
Maybe, yeah. George Harrison then showed up
like
one night.
Yeah, I think it was like maybe the next season or something, you know, he turned up and he was like trying to get the money, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and Lauren said, "Oh no, I thought you understood this money was to be split between the 4 of you, so you wouldn't get the whole thing. You would just get $750." And he says, NBC cheapskate.
Chintzy, that's pretty
chintzy. That's it, yeah.
Pretty chintzy. And he's like, "Oh, well, there's an extra $250 in it if you say the opening line." And he's
so I thought,
live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Yeah. So I thought, like, because everything else in that 50th anniversary special was a reference to something else. I thought Paul's mere
they did that. They
appearance on the show was a reference to.
They did all that kind of stuff with the Bronx Beat, and they had Mike Myers' character on.
Yeah.
With them, they did the whole we're not worthy, and I was like, because that originated.
Yeah.
On SNL, the Ghostbusters originated on SNL.
So many things. Yeah, I was just...
There were so many, like, hit movies of the 90s and 80s were born out of SNL sketches.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Coneheads.
Yeah.
That was another one. I remember that movie as a kid.
Mm.
And I had no idea at that time it was an SNL sketch, because we didn't get SNL in Britain. It's only in the recent years that it started to kind of, like, come over because of the internet, or it would have been shown on Channel 4 maybe, but it was kind of like just a American comedy show that...
I wonder how easy it is...
We had our own things.
To get tickets to SNL, to a taping.
I don't know. They probably...
Do you remember when we were in New York City, there were people in sleeping bags and stuff, and they were sleeping outside? I think because Paul McCartney was going to be on.
Yeah, they were outside Rockefeller.
They were lined up to get past.
He was going to be on with Paul Rudd.
Yeah, the two Pauls. They were like, we were like, what are you... What are you waiting
Pauls.
for?
Who's that?
Paul McCartney and Paul Rudd. Yeah. Oh, we're in line. We want to get SNL tickets to see the two Pauls.
I guess you can line up and get a... Yeah, I mean, a taping.
When we were there, we got tickets to see David Letterman, who was still, going at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And that was pretty easy, so
that was a free show, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was free.
I mean, I'm presuming Saturday Night Live is a free...
Oh, I'm sure. But I wonder, how easy it is to get...
I mean, I'm pretty sure people want... Because it's a comedy show at the end of the day, isn't it? Yeah. It's not like David Letterman's like, there's a comic, but... and there might be, it's potluck as to who the guests are.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you who they are until you're sitting in the
Who were the guests when we saw David Letterman?
Barbara Walters. And...
that was good.
Someone else, I can't remember who it was. It was Barbara Walters and...
There were a couple of
the musical guest, I can't remember who it was. It was someone kind of nondescript.
Yeah.
But yeah, all I remember was Barbara Walters.
Yeah, we'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was definitely another guest and then a musical guest.
Yeah.
And the musical guest was not somebody we knew. I think maybe they were...
It was fascinating to see the process, actually, of when they cut for breaks and all that, them all running to David and going, do this, do that,
Does Jimmy Fallon tape? He tapes in New York City, doesn't
he? I believe so.
Yeah. And Stephen Colbert is now in the
Ed Sullivan
Theater. So you could probably
you
could probably easily get tickets to go see Stephen Colbert. I don't know.
That was the exciting thing for me, getting to go into the Ed Sullivan Theater.
Yeah. Yes. The first time I went, that was the main reason I wanted to go. Because it's like, oh wow, Ed Sullivan Theater. Think of everybody who's
been in
here. Yeah. Who's very cool. Yeah, New York is just a cool place.
It's a city that never sleeps.
I mean, we love it. Let us know if you like New York City, because, it's not for everybody. It definitely isn't.
Another one of the sketches that really cracked me up was the In Memoriam sketch.
Oh, God, yes.
All and they were like, this is going to be about the SNL cast members who are no longer with us. Gilda Radner, Norm Macdonald, John Belushi. But it was like, no, it's going to be all the bad sketches that we've done over the years that are considered non-PC now.
Yes.
Like all the blackface stuff and all the, stereotypes. And then they were like, and also all our problematic guests and hosts, like OJ.
Oh my God.
And Robert Blake and Diddy. And it's like, they showed Diddy going, something about R. Kelly. And they were like, R. Kelly! And everybody was like, why didn't they have Musk or Trump on then?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, in a couple of years, maybe. Maybe. And for the 60th anniversary, maybe they'll have them
Have they had them as guests on the show?
I think Trump hosted.
Has he?
And Musk has hosted. Yeah, no, Trump hosted in 2016 during his
Did he really?
Yeah.
That was kind of gutsy of him, actually.
Musk hosted in 2021.
Oh God.
And it was as you think,
He probably paid them.
Well,
He probably gave them money, like, let me host.
And it's kind of like, the thing is, it's kind of like, he's just an unlikable guy at the end of the day.
God, don't get me started.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very funny.
Very, very,
very funny. Very, like, very gutsy of them to.
Oh yeah. Call themselves out
to do that. Yeah.
Only two of our hosts have committed murder. And they had Alec Baldwin there as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, and Alec Baldwin was probably like, oh yeah, I won't mention it. Why? What have you heard?
Oh, jeez, yeah. A lot of people were saying they felt like it felt like an ending.
Well, yeah, the face on Lorne Michaels at the end.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh yeah, this is it. We're over now.
Yeah.
NBC's about to cancel us.
Yeah, someone said, do you think Lorne Michaels, that this is going to be his last season, he's going to announce retirement or something, but somebody said no, he's gone on record saying that he has no intention of retiring. Like, I guess he wants to be one of these people who just, like, dies at his desk,
at the desk and controls from beyond, yeah.
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 I mean, like it or not, I think you have to really accept the fact that it's not easy making people laugh. Everybody's got a different sense of humor. Everybody's got different things that they find funny. And it's just like, how do you write in a way?
Well, how do you be funny? Yeah.
How do you be funny? Yeah.
Yeah,
but also, how do you just write jokes that, like, at least a majority of people might laugh at?
Is it gonna land? Yeah.
Yeah, because imagine, like, and that sketch that they did about, like, everyone on SNL has anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
It must be true, because think about that, like, oh, you've written this sketch and it could just be crickets because it's live. You know?
Well,
could
the thing is, obviously they have, like, a thing where you write a sketch, you pitch it, and they go, okay, this is great, we're going to bring it to Lorne now. And then they'll go, yeah, your sketch didn't make the cut. Sorry. You're not in this episode at all.
Yeah. I wonder if just before they're gonna film that even happens based on how the audience is reacting. Remember when we went to Letterman?
Maybe, yeah, they were like, they threw out a couple of jokes.
Yeah, they were like, and I think they said, like, the person that talked to us before Letterman came out,
he says, oh, if you don't laugh, Dave is gonna throw it out. Or Dave,
if you're not a good audience, we're not gonna waste what we think are funny jokes because we want to
you've got to laugh. We
want to have big reactions. Yeah. So
just keep laughing.
Literally, during the commercial breaks, they go and put down all the jokes and stuff before David Letterman. They must do a similar thing on SNL, and they're scratching stuff out. Nope, we're not going to do that one. Toss that one out. Yeah, I want to do this one. Change this to this. Yeah. Probably like, oh, the audience is a bit like, oh, they seem to be laughing more at this kind of thing than this. So let's take that sketch out, and we're going to bring this sketch forward that we thought we might not use, but we're going to suddenly use it. Yeah, because sometimes you notice when you're watching SNL, they're all reading the cue cards. Like, they have not memorized one line of that sketch, not any member of them,
Well, no, it's because sometimes it's a case of like, oh yeah, they might have written this sketch, but they thought it was going to get pulled. Yeah. So they've forgotten about it because they're ready for another one. Yeah. So when it comes out, they're like, oh, what was that? What am I? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What was it? Prompt me.
Jeez, how nerve-wracking.
Yeah. And then you got to be funny on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be it would be much harder to be a comedic writer and actor than it would be a dramatic one,
Yes.
And drama gets so much praise.
Yeah, it does.
They win all the Academy Awards. Yeah. They're lauded as, the best actor because, someone who can make you cry. Well, I can cry at a commercial or just the thought of something sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take a lot to make me cry.
Yeah, I know.
But, like, I might not always find everything funny. You know, there were some of the sketches in SNL that were like,
Yes.
But I'm sure there was somebody somewhere that was laughing their head off, you know? So, but anyway.
Yes. But anyway. I think
if you can go to New York City, if you like New York City, if you like cities, we recommend going to New York City, and we recommend trying to get tickets to SNL, for example. I would think that it might be kind of easy to get tickets to like Stephen Colbert, probably.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was not difficult, you know, as well known as Letterman is and had been going for so long, and it was still fairly easy to get tickets to go see him. So, and they're free. Yeah. Also go see a Broadway show. Whether you like Broadway or not, definitely go see a Broadway show. Like, you haven't yet, have you?
No.
Yeah, we didn't go do that.
No,
we didn't go do that. Oh no, but I recommend that. Because it's just another one of those New York experiences that you can get elsewhere because they have these traveling troupes and stuff, but it's just like a different vibe being in one of those old theaters, you know? Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're over time, so.
Over time, yeah.
I could talk about New York City.
Our producer is telling us we're over time.
Yeah, giving us the wrap it up signal.
That's a traveling signal in basketball.
Yeah, traveling.
Traveling. Gotta be traveling.
Thank you, as always, for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. Give us a follow on social media if you don't follow us already. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY, across all social. Shout out to our patrons for their continued support. We really appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.